So we continue our conversation, and we have this wonderful thread. We were speaking about young generations and education today with our guests from New Zealand, and yesterday we discussed the role of education and the role of young people in leadership with Violetta and with panel discussion which we had yesterday with eco-civilization. So we are continuing and jumping from one continent to another. So now let me remind you again our whole timetable. So yesterday we spoke with Latin America and North America. We had that absolutely wonderful conversation with New Zealand just right now, and we are coming to Balkans and the perspective of young people. And we spoke a lot now, just before this hour, about the role of nature. And when we were discussing the potential topic for the discussion with Pina Maya, who will be hosting next hour, we were precisely speaking about the role of nature and about the difference maybe in perceptions of nature from younger generations and elder generations, and what does it mean to be a resident, a citizen, and at the same time a person who is connected to nature, and how it impacts our development of children, of adolescents, young people, and what can it bring in the future to the humanity. So, Pina Maya, the floor is yours. Please jump in.
Thank you.
Introduce your guests.
Yes, thank you, Marina, for the introduction. Yeah, the nature is a very important part of my life, and in a way, it has moved my perception towards it. It has moved from taking it for granted just because of the pleasure of living in a place where nature is so easily accessible, to really understand what a privilege it is to have it in my life in that way. And also, we were talking with Marina, this youth perspective towards it is something that it's very dear to my heart, and I think it holds a lot of very important insights from how we were raised to who we are right now, and what would we like the next generations to understand about nature and how to connect with it. And I have today here with me Nick and Anna. Nick is also from Slovenia and Anna from Serbia. And I'm really looking forward to have this discussion with them. I know a little bit about how nature is part of their lives, but we will go into that together, and they will also tell you by themselves. Before we go to let's say deeper understanding about just in total how youth generations interact with nature nowadays, I would maybe like to start this hour with a round of, let's say, personal insights about what is, Nick and Anna, your personal connection to the nature, also in regarding to a space where you live, and how is the nature part of your everyday life. So yeah, maybe just opening the floor with that. And before answering the first question, if you can also just say a couple of words about yourselves, just those things that you feel important, that are important for the group that we are in right now.
Yeah. Hi. No, Anna, no, go first.
No, you can go first.
Okay. Hi, so I'm Nick. As Pina Maya said, I live in Slovenia. I'm a software developer, software engineer. So of course, I spend a lot of the time, behind a computer screen, locked in a small room. And I'm also a scout. So the other part of my life is spent in nature and around people in nature. So I think for our young generation, spending so much time in the digital world, it's getting more and more important to stay connected to nature. And as Pina Maya said, here in Slovenia and probably the whole Balkans, we have the privilege of having a lot of nature and it being easily accessible. So for me, yeah, it's very important to, after a stressful day, just go out into the park, go for a hike, breathe the fresh air if I can.
Okay, my name is Anna, and I'm from Serbia. As you know, for me, the connection with the nature is really important. I also I'm on my master's actually in geography, and I'm also a scout. So for being a part of nature is a really huge thing and really nice thing, and I think all young people should kind of try it. I like studying it, I like going in it, I like exploring everything that is in nature. So as Nick said, and Pina Maya, I think it's really a privilege to kind of have it here in Balkans. So that's basically it from me. I hope that I answered everything.
Yeah, thank you. As I already, I think, said before, just this opportunity to having nature easily accessible, I think it's a privilege that we many times forget about. And when I was younger, I was taking that for granted, meaning, it's of course it's a normal part of our everyday that we have forest all around us, even though, I don't know, I live in a capital. But then also, traveling around the world, you see that those things are not the same everywhere. And I think that one of the nicest things here is that, and I know it's not like this around the world, and I was always surprised when I was traveling around, is that, for instance, in Slovenia, the forest, you can own the materials, but you cannot close the area for other people. So it's not public land, but everyone is allowed to walk through the forest. And I think this is just such a beautiful, beautiful thing, to have, and to, no matter if you own a part of the nature or not, everyone can always go and just walk and spend time there. And we have been listening a lot about, during the previous hours, why this connection and accessibility to nature is such an important element of our everyday life. And what it brings us and how it enriches our lives. And I have also been, seeing and hearing about a lot of things from youth generation, kind of remembering that importance. So maybe a next question for you, Nick, is, do you think that, nowadays, access to nature from the eyes of the youth is a privilege, or is maybe a fundamental right? How do you think that the youth generation perceive that?
I think it depends on where they live. As you said, here in Slovenia, we often, obviously we can't see it as privilege because it's so easily accessible and we just believe everybody has it, you know. Everybody can do the same. They can go for a hike, just stepping out of their apartment in the city center and just go for a hike. That's why I also agree with you that traveling is so important, because if you don't see it with your own eyes, that other countries don't have nature that is that accessible. Yeah, you just don't see it as privilege. But I also believe it should be. I mean, it is also a human right, obviously, as you said. I think all public, or not public, but all forests and bigger parts of nature should just be, accessible to everybody. Because if you start closing those down, it's, sooner rather than later, we're just gonna run out of nature. So it's also a right, but yes, depending on where you live and how you live, I think seeing that it is a privilege might not be, you know, seen by everyone as a privilege.
And maybe just to continue on that topic with you a little bit more, you know, of course, a lot of development is going on around the world, you know, and many times, you know, a lot of things are getting built or just developed at the cost of nature. And maybe what is your view on that? You know, on the in one hand, we're talking about, you know, it's a human right to have access to nature, and at the same time, we're also exploiting it in a way because of the, let's say, progression we want to make as a society in different fields.
Yeah, it's a tough question. I think the leaders of this part of the world will have to ask themselves very soon. Obviously, you know, we're building infrastructure, we're building apartments, factories, you know, offices, and so on, which are important, important for the, you know, the progression of our society, of course. But yes, just keeping in mind that, you know, space is finite, so we will run out if we don't watch where we build, how we build, and so on. Yeah, it's very important for me, obviously, living in the city center of Ljubljana. You know, just for the last 20 years or so, you can just see that, you know, more and more buildings are being built. We're going outside the center limits, the center city limits. It's gonna become a concrete jungle. You know, we can see that. We don't like it, but I think, yeah, it's important, but I'm not sure what the path to stopping that is. You know, I know there are a lot of builders that keep the nature part in their minds, you know, building around it, building with it, and so on. So I think in that direction it is okay, but not everybody does build like that. You know, some people just don't care about nature and they just build a big high rise, a big complex, and you know, that's it.
Okay. Anna, maybe your thought or your point of view regarding that is nature part of our, let's say, access to nature, part of our human rights, is a privilege, and you know, how are we gonna make sure that the next generations that follow also, you know, have that opportunity to interact with nature?
Well, for example, in Serbia, I think that people are kind of aware of it. I mean, not the people that are building the houses and other stuff, but like younger people. I mean, they're always like shouting out loud that something can't be built somewhere or doing some protests about it. So I think that they are aware of it, and I think that actually the part where COVID was here was like major had a major part in that awareness for young people, because they kind of all started traveling through Serbia, through nature national parks or something like it. So I guess that the awareness is spread, but I don't think that like I think that every new generation should be more and more educated upon that topic.
And you know, going back to what the youth can do in regarding to what you just mentioned, you know, just spreading the awareness or being active in you know, preserving the nature. What, you know, maybe what are some things that you see going on in your city, or in your city, and how young people are, you know, being active in this field, and yeah.
Well, for example, through a lot of organizations. Also, for example, at my faculty, because it's basically like geography, biology, and other subjects. So we're kind of always in every subject we are learning about the, I don't know, the ecology and something that can be sustainable for other generations. But also we have young people that are kind of engaged with, I don't know if you heard the City and Me application. So basically, you just, I mean, they encourage you to walk through the city, and when you walk a lot, you kind of get points, and you can kind of have your own tree in the park. So, so yeah, it's a really cool thing because young people are all like more and more doing it. Also, we do have a lot of activities that are based on just, I don't know, um, keeping out the trash somewhere else, or recycling, or that. So yeah, I think that we do have a lot of organizations and activities, but then you have like other generations that are just like, oh, I don't know, throw that trash somewhere in the nature. So it's kind of, I don't know, we have to balance it at some point.
No, I think this is a great topic that you just opened. How did this perception change to, between generations, how we were kind of raised and how we are nowadays actively changing our point of view on that. So maybe if you can just elaborate a little bit more about where do you see the biggest difference from, let's say, older generations and their approach towards nature, and then what is now emerging with younger generations, and how do they, or how do we perceive it? What are the key differences between that, and what is kind of the point of view that is changing?
Well, I think that that's more because of the possibility for younger generations that they can kind of use the internet, they have social media, they can kind of see how other countries work. They are also, I mean, they're also in the education system still. And for the older generations, they kind of don't have, I mean, that privilege of education at those years. I mean, I'm really sorry for it, but like it's really true. And also they kind of don't have social media, so, and they don't travel as much as younger people do. So as you said, I mean, while you're traveling, you can kind of change your views, perspective, or everything. So I guess that the main difference is that education part. Because I guess that, I mean, for example, in Serbia, our older generations, they are always kind of thinking about, okay, it is what it is, and we're not going to do anything about it. And like younger generations are more, I don't know, rebel. So yeah.
And maybe just let's say, final thought regarding this topic with you, just what do you think changed? What brought to this change of, it is what it is, and to, we want to do it differently, and we want to have a, treat nature with more respect, and just make sure that, we don't exploit it in a way. What do you think that, that changed? How did we come to this change?
Well, for example, in our city, I think that I'm from Niš, Serbia. I don't know if I mentioned it. For example, in my city, I think that that's more because we kind of started being a concrete city. So I guess that people were just like tired of of not seeing trees and not seeing nature and everything. And I guess they were kind of tired of like seeing trash where you shouldn't have trash. So, I mean, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Maybe Nick, the same question for you. How do you see the change in perspective from older generations to now young generations regarding nature?
Yeah, I think there's two major differences. I think the first one is, if we just think 20, 30 years ago, the amount of plastics and, other non-compostable things that were made were far smaller than, now. And I also think, just thinking of our parents, how much nature they've had. Obviously in Slovenia we still have a lot of nature, but I think we can all agree that, even in smaller cities, we can see that there are more houses, more complexes, more roads. So I think we see it far more now, and that's why we can appreciate it that much more, that we're losing it, that there's more trash and so on. And then I think the second part is just, yeah, seeing a lot of, what would I call it? Not natural, but there's a lot of factories that put bad things into nature. We see it in Slovenia, we see it all around the world, where they would dump, toxic waste, or just normal waste somewhere in a forest randomly and just leave it there. Our rivers get polluted, our earth gets polluted, and so on. I think it was even if those same things happened in the time of the older generations. I think, just as Anna said, social media and media in general, I think we see it so much more now, and we get those news that much faster. We see it and we just want to act. We don't want these things happening. We probably see it as just a simple solution. Don't do it. Just take care of your waste. So I think those are the two main differences between the young generation and the older generation.
We actually just got a question that I think connects really nicely to what you just said. And it goes that, yesterday in one of the discussions, it was mentioned that often young generations are great on declarative level, but when actions and kind of manifestation of deep relationship with nature and sustainability and all of that, when that is required, we as young generations are not ready to live by those values and to keep kind of the sincere and honest relationship with nature. So maybe how do you see that, because of how you just connected to it?
Yeah, I agree. I think I agree with that statement, absolutely. And I think, young people see things happening, we don't like it, and we say things, but we don't yet act, because maybe in a lot of cases we don't know how to. And that's why, as we will grow older, we'll know how to act. And as we talk about the older generation and say, oh, they see it differently, obviously there are exceptions. It's not like I wouldn't even say the majority of the older generation is like that. But yeah, I think with experience and with seeing things, or seeing examples of how to act against those things, we'll be able to do it actually a little bit more. But also, acting it takes confidence, and it takes courage, and maybe young people also like those two things.
So could you maybe say that it's often perceived as not caring enough, or not wanting to take action just because we don't yet know how to, or maybe don't have the support that would be needed to so that our voices are actually heard?
Yeah, maybe support, but if one young person that is perceived as a leader, let's say, would start taking action, I think many would join. So I wouldn't say there's no support. I would just say the young people need a very strong young voice that they can follow, and then actions will happen.
Okay, thank you. And Anna, we know that a lot of things have been happening in Serbia, a lot of initiatives from younger generations. How do you, or maybe can you connect what is going on, in Serbia right now, or in the, let's say, in the last year, to to empowerment of youth voices, and just the connection of that with nature? Maybe do you see any connections of what is going on in Serbia right now to also what is important to young people, and what kind of support you generations need in order to feel that confidence to act on the things they would like to change.
Well, I mean, I can relate a lot of things. But like, I think that young generations are constantly seeking for some support and seeking for some, I don't know, acknowledgement from older generations, that they aren't aware of, I don't know, their own potentials. So I think that they aren't that confident, like doing something. But as we saw in Serbia, like when people get fed up of something, they can easily go on their feet and kind of try to make a change. So, I mean, I believe that the stuff that is happening in Serbia can also be related to the nature part. I just think that people kind of have to also get fed up of not like perceiving nature as we should. But we did have a lot of protests upon upon that. I mean, we did have a company that wanted to build mines and that kind of stuff, so people were on streets for that. So I wouldn't say that like young people don't want to take action. I just think that they're used to kind of have support from older generations, and when it comes to some questions like, I don't know, the system, nature, etc., etc., that they kind of don't know where to start because they expect someone who is older to support them, to educate them, and at some points you can be more educated than some older person in your building or in your family or something. So I guess that they just need to kind of step out of their, I mean, we have to step out of our comfort zones and just kind of take the action, because like as Nick said, change kind of takes courage. So yes.
Okay, thank you. So again, we are back to the intergenerational connections, and just the power we have when we work together, and maybe not kind of segregate, or put ourselves in groups, but actually work together and share the knowledge we all have. So maybe if we kind of continue a little bit more into the depth of where or how in people's life nature is present. To continue with you, Anna, what would you say that or let's say in which different ways the nature is part of your lives, in every day? Is it, Nick has already mentioned, just doing some sport activities, but because of, how, let's say, how easy we can be part of the nature, what is going on there, and how are the youth generations interacting with nature in different occasions?
Okay. Well, for example, for me, nature is present like everywhere, because I live in a part of a city where in like 5 minutes you can go by the river, and there you have trees, grass, everything. So in my part of the city, we do have a lot of green things, but like in other parts, you don't. Also, I mean, I'm kind of basically studying everything that has with nature. So yeah, and I mean, also, I mean, as we all said, we are all scouts, so we're constantly somewhere in nature. And I really like that we have those organizations that can kind of put kids and youth also in nature. Um, I don't know for other children and other young people that are like not in scouting or I don't know, in some mountaineering organization or something like that. I know from stories that like people are just like, oh, I mean, we know that we have nature, but like we want to go to see some cities or something like it. So maybe maybe we should kind of promote more nature at that point.
And you were talking also about, kids spending time in the nature. What would you say is the benefit that they're getting out of it? Or maybe what are some insights that you saw, insights or differences, between, let's say, spending time with kids in nature, or and on the other hand, in, let's say, in a city, or between the concrete walls in one way or another?
Well, I mean, for kids that are spending time in nature, I really see the difference, like in their well, actually in everything that they do, because you can see that they are really, I mean, that they're more capable than some kids that don't have that aren't in touch with nature. They're more capable. They do kind of have I don't know, some opinions. I know it's strange to hear that for a kid, but like as I said, in scouting, we do a lot of things with kids in nature. So I can see the difference when we kind of, when I talk to some kids from scouting that are spending time in nature a lot, and when I'm talking to, for example, some kids in my building or on the street or something. So yeah.
Okay, thank you. And maybe, Nick, going back to you, and how do you see that nature is part of all different sorts of activities that are happening in the city, in a place where you live? How is that, maybe not just part of, spending our, let's say, free time going for a walk, but also in other different aspects of our everyday lives?
Yeah. First, I just wanted to say that I think in Slovenia we're very lucky because we have a lot of young athletes that are winning in certain sports. Let's say Anya for climbing, our skiers, our cyclists, and I think more and more young people, because of that, because of those athletes, are getting interested in those sports. And I'm seeing a lot of even my generation and younger, starting cycling a lot in nature or going for hikes, going climbing. I think that's a sport is a very big factor in just being in nature, but also just realizing that being connected with nature calms you down, gives you another perspective, a better perspective maybe. Yeah, I think that's the most important part. I also think just going to a park and studying in a park is also I think a lot of people in Slovenia practice that, and it gives them a better environment to study and to work with. Even a lot of meetings are done in the parks between young people. Let's say if they're doing it for a study group or a project that they're working on, they would meet in a park and work on the project there instead of an office or someone's room. There are also primary schools that I know of that are starting to implement a lot of outside classrooms, where if the weather is nice, they will start some subject for kids even outside and just do the whole hour there. I think that's also a very good thing to do.
Mm. And this is just a nice connection to the next question we got, connected with education, that both you and Anna mentioned. And it goes that, what should be thought and how we could introduce the notion of being part of the natural environment for young people. So that it's not, just seen as another boring subject, but as a fundamental knowledge for our lives. So and you already started, going into that, and how also the school system is changing, and how we are moving out into the nature, whether it's it's part of the school, just part of afternoon studies, but maybe some more things that you see could be done in the connection with educational system to improve, let's say, this way of co-living with nature even more.
Yeah, I think a lot of practical studying can be done in nature. we have to understand that, you know, teaching something outside of the classroom or outside of the big speaking hall is gonna be, you know, harder. It's gonna be, you're probably gonna need to prepare more. You're at the mercy of nature. You're at the mercy of, you know, maybe it starts raining, snowing, whatever. Maybe it's too hot to be outside. But if we can break through those obstacles and try to move as many, no, maybe not as many, but at least a couple of hours, and spend them, you know, teaching outside of the classroom, I think that could be very, very, very beneficial. And even, you know, let's say physics, which is or mathematics. I think both have examples, obviously, in nature. So even just looking at it as a practical learning, it could be very beneficial, I think, to do it in nature. There is going to be some subjects or some colleges that will obviously won't be able to do that. But just finding those little opportunities, I think, could change a lot for young people to you know, to be connected to nature, to understand that it's a bigger part. For mathematicians, let's say, if they would understand that, I mean, probably most do, but maybe even in primary school, you know, children hate math, but if we could show them that mathematics is everywhere around in nature, they would feel more connected to nature and mathematics.
I think you know, it just occurred to me now that you were talking that in a way, what you described is, you know, going back to our roots, you know, because at some time in the, let's say, last decades, you know, we moved from being outside, from, you know, studying with the nature to, you know, inside and being in the classrooms and just doing more or less everything in theory. And now we're shifting back, you know, to, yes, let's say, back to the roots. And I think that is beautiful. But maybe your opinion about, you know, how come we have you know, come so far and closed ourselves so much inside, also in the educational system, and now, you know, what is changing, that we're going back, that we feel this need to go back out, to go back outside, and to just go back to all the connections that are already there. Because as you mentioned, you know, all the everything that we're learning in the school system is connected to the outer world, and, you know, so much more. I mean, everything is already there, you know, we're just learning from the books instead of going outside and, you know, learn on the grounds.
Yeah, I think we're just figuring out that the digital era is not the best, you know, for our mental well-being, and even our, you know, we're seeing with younger kids, we're seeing that their attention span is getting smaller and smaller, or shorter and shorter. So we're looking probably for a way that where we can get rid of that, or show our kids that they can do things differently. They don't need those digital gadgets all the time. Obviously, of course, there's a lot of good features of them. We wouldn't have this Zoom call if there wasn't a computer system. But yeah, I think that's the main cause why things are shifting and changing, because we're just seeing the bad effects.
Okay. And you know, Anna, you mentioned before the positive, you know, effect also of social media, which again is, you know, connected with the fact that we have you know, all the digital things in our life. Maybe, you know, some more ideas about what can be done, you know, and use the resources that we have in a good way. And, you know, also where you see that, you know, social media, or just this opportunity to be connected one to another, is already having positive effects on next generations, and also to the relationship we have with the nature.
Okay. Well, for that positive effect of social media, I mean, younger people, and even older ones, I mean, we should all kind of learn that we can use social media to, I don't know, follow some accounts that are actually nature based. So I mean, you can kind of really educate yourself in on social media if you want to. I mean, now even on TikTok, even in Instagram, you can kind of change your algorithm if you want. I mean, you can just check what you want to see and what you don't. You can check what you're not interested, what you are, and you can also kind of do a research of some educational accounts where you can kind of have your education. And for the part of like how is education kind of connected to it. I mean, I really think that people, for example, teachers and other professors, should just kind of put kids and youth in the nature so they can kind of get used to it, and so they can teach them that the nature is actually their home. So I guess when they are kind of used to nature being their home, that they would kind of have a have more awareness than other from their generations.
And do you already maybe see some progress regarding that in your schools? I mean, in the school system of Serbia, or any, like, let's say, good practices of, what is already happening, or changes that have already been made regarding that?
Well, yeah, actually, my geography teacher, because I was at school practice or something like 1 year ago, she was actually explaining them, I don't know, some parts of relief. Yeah, so they were kind of doing that on the polygon, which was like in the school garden or something like it. So she's kind of putting them a lot outside. I mean, the problem is in our schools that you kind of always have to have to ask the director or something of the school so you can kind of go with kids outside. But she is really trying, so I have her as an example. But I think that other teachers and professors can also do it if they kind of, I don't know, talk to people and kind of see some creative ways to make their classes more interesting and more in nature and more connected to it. I mean, as you said, everything that we learn in schools is basically based on the things that are outside of the classroom and not inside.
And do you think that, now with, let's say, younger generations, and this also connects to what, Nick mentioned, that we sometimes just don't have the tools yet to actually make, let's say, seeable changes, especially, from older generations. But do you think that, with that, when younger generations also, come to schools and, become those teachers or those people who can change anything, that the change will actually be seen? Do you have that feeling that, people are waiting there to have this opportunity to make the change?
Well, I mean, probably, but I think that it really depends on the system of the country. So, for example, I mean, when I'm in Slovenia, I kind of see opportunities, as Nick said, to, I don't know, do more sports or to be, I don't know, more athletic or to go in nature somewhere because you guys in Slovenia really have those opportunities, and that is something that your system gave you. And for example, in Serbia, we have opportunities for our free time to, I don't know, go for a coffee in the cafe. So yeah, I mean, we do have a lot of people that are now starting to build, I don't know, basically agencies for traveling in nature and that kind of stuff. But like, I think that you're on a higher level than we are right now. So I guess that it depends on what someone who is, I don't know, in the system kind of gives you. If he doesn't or she doesn't give you an opportunity to kind of do sports or to be active in nature, I think that I mean, it's not your fault that you can't see it.
Mm.
But I guess that we were gonna nurture that at some point.
No, I think that, it's kind of again coming out, and I think it's beautiful, just the importance of staying connected, and not just between different generations, but also, having this opportunity that again is, it's here because of the digital world, to share our practices and just things that are, that are going on, in different countries, and see the possibilities that are there, and get ideas and just inspiration, to see what can be done, and then start doing it on our ends as well. And maybe just, kind of the sort of the last question that I would like to ask both of you, and also an invitation to everyone else here present on the call, to share their answers to this question, is that how do you, if you look back now to your life, how did the perception about nature, about the importance of it, and just, yeah, your relationship with it change, through time, through your life? How was it when, you were younger, and then how did it change with, you kind of growing older and having all these new experiences, seeing everything, learning things, how did that change from younger age to where you are right now? Maybe.
Well, well, for example, I mean, as I was always in the nature when I was little, I always respected it. But I think that I kind of um, didn't see the important things of it. I mean, I think that I see them now when I'm older and when I see the pollution and everything that is happening. But like when I was little, it was a big part of my life. But it's just because I was little and then I was there, I can play and that kind of stuff. And now I kind of really see the importance of it and the importance of I don't know, nurturing it, being a part of it, being connected to it, and also kind of educating other people that it is important.
And maybe a follow-up question before I give word to Nick is, how would you like the next generations that follow perceive nature as part of their environment, or a place, I mean, yeah, environment where they live?
Well, I mean, uh, I would like to see them also respecting it, and I would like to see them also using it, but not for, I don't know, not for the trees and whatever you have to use, but just for their free time and just for feeling connected to it. Because I really believe that it kind of that you kind of feel better when you're in nature. For example, this summer I was like living in the tent for almost 1 month, and it was beautiful. And then I came to reality. So
Okay, thank you. Maybe Nick, now to you, how did your perception change over time?
I would say when I was younger, I definitely took it for granted. I remember our father always wanted us to go, outside, go to the park or go cycling with him, go hiking with him, but we never wanted to as kids. And now being older, all you really want to do is, go outside or as much as much as you can, as much as time allows. But I think that's a very natural thing, or a natural progression. Obviously, young people, kids, they live in their own world. We live in our own world. So with experience, with things happening, we can shift our perspective. We can shift the values. And also, yes, the values that we hold now, we have to show them to the younger generations, because only by example, by showing them how much we appreciate nature, how we respect it, then they will also have that same respect, that same appreciation. It's I think words are not as powerful as showing them. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I would kind of connect to what you just said, is that, you know, even though I was also always spending a lot of time in the nature, I think that, you know, then with years this awareness came of just how rich I am because I have the opportunity to, you know, to have nature all around me. And, you know, having the really wild forest, you know, 10 minutes away from my house, even though I live in the capital, is, I think, that's something that would be very difficult for me to imagine living without. And just the kind of the therapy, the natural therapy that we have, or that I experience, you know, while I'm in the nature, is it's definitely, you know, something that makes me very rich in so many different ways. And, you know, thank you both of you for sharing your point of views. And what I take out of this call is that, you know, younger generations have a lot of respect and a lot of awareness towards the importance of nature. It's just that sometimes we don't know yet how to show others how much we care about it, not in the way that they would understand it, or, you know, see that we actually care. And I think that, you know, this leap of faith for younger generations, it's also very important, to, you know, are coexistent, and just, you know, the support that, you know, we need one from another, to kind of, you know, take the next steps into the right direction, you know, that goes with respect, a deep respect towards nature. So yeah, thank you again. And maybe if there are like any last thoughts about the you know, this last hour, and then I'm, you know, passing the torch back to Marina and to our next wonderful panel.
I just want to say it's really nice to see some youngsters at the Connectathon and to feel into that energy. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, then Marina, the torch back to you.
Like to thank you, Pina Maya. Great to see you, Anna, again, and thank you, Nick, for contributing. Yeah, Violetta wants to add something, please.
We still have a few minutes, but Pinamaya, Marina raised some good questions in the comment. Do you think you three could just briefly respond to them? Because they are important for us, for the oldies, to understand this better.
I mean, I think we did in sort of did, and we did touch them a little bit. But so maybe if there is a specific thing that you would like for us to address, because we don't have a lot of time yet, so maybe just if you can point out what do you think is the most important thing that you would like some more perspective from our side.
Yeah, I was just wanted to ask your perspective on what should be promoted through media, through social media. So what values should be shown and suggested maybe to the young generation in order to better understand what's the importance and what's the real difference. Because again, we have spoken about education, but also we understand that we are highly influenced by the social media, mass media. So in this case, what can change when we can make the real difference? Maybe not only in the young minds, but also somehow provide this idea to the older people who grew up in different circumstances. But again, we are living in this situation now. Yeah.
If I can, I would say that I think, especially for young people, you know, media is changing. So I wouldn't say they consume as much of legacy media as they do social media. And I think the main content or ideas that are promoted that have a very good impact are just influencers showing how beautiful nature is, how you can spend time in nature, and that's what really, you know, pushes them to go there. I think a lot of activism showing, you know, bad things happening, I think that won't work. I think you have to show them how beautiful it is and how you can spend your time, quality time in nature, and that's how they will do it. And by doing it, they will appreciate it and you know, respect it.
Also by kind of teaching them that through those social media that is their home, that is a big part of them. So I mean, I guess when you love yourself, you kind of love everything that is part of you, so that you can maybe nurture it more.
That was a really powerful statement, Anna. Thank you. I would also say that, and Nick also touched that the youth perception towards social media is changing, and it might not be as seen yet as we would like it to be, but you know, showing all the let's say the reverse psychology is not working anymore as much as it maybe did with previous generations. And also there has to be, so the young people have to see that the added value for themselves in following, let's say, social media accounts or just, you know, different topics. And it's not in a way that, you know, we're not buying bullshit anymore, not maybe as much as we did before. And I think this is such an important, you know, important shift. And there are, you know, a lot of yeah, we have to see the added value for ourselves there, to follow it and to you know, to read what is going on there. And just this kind of way of, you know, telling us, oh, everything, you know, this is all bad and this is all ugly and this is all not nice. We already know that, you know, we already know that we are living in a world where there are a lot of horrible things going on. And we are aware of that, even though if sometimes we're not that vocal about it, we are aware of that. And what we want also there is just to share the beauty of what is going on. And this is not because we are kind of not accepting the reality of every day, but it's because we are aware of what is going on, is that we want to feel also social media with beautiful things and to just spread, you know, love there as well. Yeah, so that.
That's what a powerful final thoughts. Thank you so much, guys. That was absolutely fantastic, and it's I also agree that it's so important to see the perspective of young generations and to rethink maybe some things which we perceive as granted, as set in stone, you know, and to look at it through another perspective. Thank you.